Good day everyone, I'm Angela Macutay and together with Mr. John Alfred, we were able to prepare a PowerPoint presentation regarding the Assyrian Empire. Are you guys excited? Because I'm really excited about this. Then, let's find out. So guys, let's talk about their government, society, culture and religion, their major contribution, and their cause of decline. So guys, to give you a brief introduction regarding the Assyrian Empire, allow me to read my manuscript here. It says here that Assyria was part of the ancient Mesopotamian world. Although Assyrian civilization was steeped in Mesopotamian culture, from the outset, it formed some distinct characteristic of its own. Its people established a deep military due to their location, which bordered lands of war like mountain peoples and desert tribesmen. This allowed them to resist invasions and eventually destroy the largest empire that the world has ever seen. So guys, kaya pinaka-major nila is military. Is it because dahil nga dun sa geographical location ng kanilang lugar. So kasi kung ikukumpara natin ang Mesopotamia sa Pilipinas, ang Assyrian naman ay yung Manila.
The geographical location of Assyrian civilization. The ancient Assyrian Empire was centered in what is now the northern Iraq. It shared a border with Syria in the east and Asia Minor in the south. The river Tigris ran through it, and it occupied the most northern part of the Mesopotamian plain, which is Assyria. The Zagros Mountains flanked the land to the north and east, while the desert flanked the land to the west and the south. The climate in Assyria is cooler than the southern part of Mesopotamia, and the levels of rainfall is higher. This means that the irrigation is not essential to farming, though as with agriculture in many parts of the world, it does allow more intensive farming if that's the case. So now guys, we will move to the government of the Assyrian civilization. As with all Mesopotamian states, Assyria was a monarchy. And to those students who are not familiar in monarchy, monarchy is a nation governed by a king or a queen. And it is also a structure or mode of government that governs the country or society. A kingdom or empire is ruled by a monarch such as a king or queen. A constitution limits the monarch's authority in a constitutional monarchy. The dictator of an absolute monarchy, on the other hand, has unrestricted authority. And in Assyria, the king is the divinely appointed and all-powerful ruler of the Assyrian people. His titles claim universal sovereignty: Great King, Mighty King, King of the Universe, and King of the country, Ashur, which is Assyria. Like all previous Mesopotamian monarchs, the king of the Assyria was the national gods appointed on earth, in this case Ashur. He was the chief lawmaker, the chief administrator, and above all the commander-in-chief of the Assyrian army.
So guys, tara naman sa napakayamang kultura ng Assyria. You know what guys, they are not just fearsome warriors. They are also Assyrian monarchs were men of culture and refinement. Talaga ba? Well, let's find out. First, we have their fabulous jewels. Under Assyrian patronage, Mesopotamian artists and craftsmen reached a peak of perfection in their work. Yes, yung mga royal tombs na matatagpuan sa city ng Nineveh and Nimrud inside the Assyria have yielded jewels of such quality and quantity, which utterly astonish the archaeologists na nakatagpo sa kanila. It has been estimated that the amount of gold discovered was over 57 kilos. Imagine that guys, and the skill with they were fashioned, marrying gold with ivory, glass, alabaster, and semi-precious stones made the hundreds of jewelry items object of immense beauty. Wow! And next we have their a passion for building. Ano naman kaya ito? Well, let's find out. The Assyrian kings also had a passion for building. The mark of all great Mesopotamian monarchs, they built themselves magnificent palaces, temples, and other public buildings, even houses, and laid out beautiful royal parks. Some built whole new capital cities, while others extended and beautified existing capitals. Nineveh was probably the grandest city of its day, as befitted its status as the capital of the world's mightiest power. Let's go to their landscape gardening. So guys, you know what? Assyrians seem also to have taken the art of landscape gardening to a new level, laying out vast parks and gardens near their palaces and diverting whole rivers to water them. It seems like that the famous Hanging Garden of Babylon, as reported by the Greek writer Herodotus, may actually refer to Assyrian parks. No evidence of such gardens have been found in Babylon, yet there is a compelling evidence for large-scale sophisticated landscaping in the city of Nineveh. Imagine that, guys. Grabe pala sila ka-artist nung unang panahon.
So now guys, we will talk about the religion in Assyrian civilization. So the Assyrian shared in the religion of the Mesopotamian civilization at large because Ashur is the national god of Assyria. He was worshipped mainly in the northern half of Mesopotamia and parts of northeast Syria as well as Southeast Asia Minor, which was constituted Old Syria. That's why Assyrians shared in the religion of the Mesopotamian civilization or other civilization kasi si Ashur rin ang isa sa mga pinaniwalaan nilang god sa Mesopotamian and other civilization. So guys, sino nga ba si Ashur? So Ashur is an East Semitic god and the head of the Assyrian pantheon in Mesopotamian religion. Ashur may have had a solar iconography. That's why they worship him because they believe that si Ashur is the one in control to the movement of the sun, moon, and the stars. The Mesopotamian conceived material world as being deeply bound up with the divine. So every household, villages, city has its own god. And they believe that everything happened in earth had a divine dimension to it. So now guys, we will talk about the society in Assyrian civilization. The Assyrian society was divided into three groups, namely the free Assyrians, with free meaning they are not subjected to any personal servitude rather than enjoying the freedom that citizens of Western democracies expect. So sila yung mga taong hindi nagsaserve sa kahit sinong tao sa Assyrian society. And then, sa Western democracies naman guys, masyadong magulo. Many countries in Western world continue to endure real and pressing threat from international terrorism. That's why nag-expect sila na maging free sila sa kaguluhang nangyayari sa lugar nila. And then the second group of people in Assyrian societies are the serfs, which are the dependents on the royals as well as on other states. So guys, sila yung elite groups of leading citizens which are made up of priests, scribes, merchants, and leading craftsmen, plus the families of those people who owned estates. And the third group of people in Assyrians, which were in the bottom, are the slaves. So all these three categories had defined rights in Assyrian law, including the slaves. The wide-ranging Assyrian conquests did not give rise to a vast slave trade as Roman expansion would, in which human beings were traded on the free market. Kasi guys, sa Roman is yung mga slaves is pwede silang i-trade sa kunyari sa mga bagay, ganun. Dito sa may Assyrian is hindi kasi including slaves, may mga karapatan sila. Kaya hindi nangyayari yun. So now guys, we will talk about the contributions of Assyrian civilization. The Assyrian Empire's legacy to world history is significant as one of the final chapters in the long history of ancient Mesopotamian civilization. The Assyrian Empire acted as a conduit of Mesopotamian know-how to later peoples. It was through them that the Greeks learned about Mesopotamian science and other knowledge, which had a major impact on their own thought. So here are some of the contribution of Assyrian civilization. First one is the army. The Assyrian army was one of the first major military force in world history to benefit from iron armors and weapons. Whereas the early armies of the Bronze Age and early Iron Age had been built around a comparatively a small number of aristocratic warriors fighting from chariots. Under the Assyrian, the cheaper but tougher iron enabled the Assyrians to arm many more ordinary subjects. Their army was therefore able to compose of much larger bodies of infantry and cavalry from hitherto kumpara doon sa mga naunang armies on the early age or civilization. Therefore, they were credited with many other military, artistic, and architectural movements. Also, the Assyrians invented the world's first written language, which is Akkadian, and the 360-degree circle.
Let's talk about their cause of decline. Kung paano nga ba bumagsak ang Assyrian Empire. So guys, gaya ng sabi ko kanina, sa geographical location ng Assyrian Empire ay open naman talaga. So, ang nangyari, Assyria was at the height of its power, but persistent difficulties controlling Babylonia would soon develop into a major conflict wherein at the end of the 7th century, nagkaroon ng Assyrian Empire collapse under the assault of Babylonians from southern Mesopotamia and Medes. Kung kaya't nagkaroon ng newcomers who were to establish a kingdom in Iran. Kasi guys, ang Assyria ngayon ay siya na yung center ng northern Iraq.
So that is our report about the Assyrian civilization together with Mr. Angelo Macutay, and I hope you learned something with our reporting. Thank you.